Hey everybody, we're back with another edition of RevivalCast. We've got Sir Bayou on with us this week,
Hi.
and we've got Cheshire as well, and sailKite. Um, and we're going to be talking about wah! And we're going to be talking about the new blog, which was Stealth. We're going to be talking about um, the new skills that we got a list of, and also a little blurb about taxes, because the tax man cometh. But let's check in with Cheshire and sailKite first. What have you guys been up to? sailKite, you were out sick last week. How's this past week gone for you?
I've actually been super busy after I got sick. Like I haven't been in IRC at all because I was doing a bunch of yard work for my dad. But aside from that, I did try to post a small photo guide in the IRC thread because I saw that a couple people were having difficulty getting into IRC. So I did put that there, hopefully to give visual thinkers a bit of a hand because I know that text instructions aren't always super easy. Um, but otherwise, yeah, I've been super busy, and so I haven't been as on top of revival as I'd like. I'm feeling better though.
Good.
That's good.
Your picture doesn't look like you're feeling better, but
Oh, that's one of my cats. I am at the mercy of our tech support, so um, I accept this as a punishment for not being available last week and for having camera issues. So goes with the territory.
Hmm.
what have you been up to, Cheshire?
Well, my job canceled my contract, so dealing with that right now. Other than that, I guess I'm okay. I've got enough saved up to keep going for maybe another month here, so we'll see. Hopefully, something comes along though. Hmm.
Cool. And Sir Bayou, so we finally have you
Hey,
on. And I keep wanting to bring more people from the forums on, and I don't know why your name hadn't popped out at me before. I think it was taking me so long to even get Cheshire on. And yeah, I think it was last week. It just occurred to me that we should have you on because you do a lot for the forums. You've got the great community fact for us. What brought you over to Revival?
Um, so I played Guild Wars 2 for a long time, and Guild Wars before that. Um, and I've talked at great length over in IRC about my feelings on what's going on with that game currently. But amidst all of that, I ended up getting linked to this game by somebody. Unfortunately, I don't exactly remember who it was. Um, but I showed up here. It basically, like a lot of other people, all of it looked like this was some kind of pipe dream that wasn't going to go anywhere. And then I saw Snipe and Ombwah talking, and uh, then I just hopped in and bought a tenement, and yeah. Now I
So,
spend about 50 hours a week on IRC.
and it's kind of scary because that's even without anything to play. I'm just scared I'm gonna be one of those guys in China that kills themselves because they didn't eat or they forgot to eat while playing a game. Um, we're wrapped in so tightly now, and there's not even any gameplay really. So it was Guild Wars 2. Did something happen there that you lost interest or?
Yeah, they were. Well, if you're not familiar with it, they were doing the Living World system right after the game came out, where they had like a 2 week release cadence where they'd release a little bit of stuff. It would be like a temporary story, maybe with some permanent stuff, new events in the zones. Guild Wars 2 is very much a theme park, but they were kind of pushing it as far as a theme park can go, and having an ongoing story. And so that went on for about a year. Then after they finished it, they kind of backpedaled and went back to more permanent content and stopped doing the temporary stories. Like we have stuff like this group of people crash landed in the desert and all their ships are on fire and stuff.
And it's been well over a year since that happened, and their ships are still on fire, and they're still crying about their broken leg from the crash and all that. And I'm just like, well, that's a lot less exciting than it was originally. So yeah, I think the thing I'm most excited for with Revival is the virtual DM and the live storytellers making sure that, like, if something happens, it's happened and it's done, and it actually happened, and you don't have stuff going on loop every 15 minutes. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, the worst is even if they were going to stop doing new content, at least clean up the old content so people haven't
Right.
rested
Yeah.
for a year. Like,
I mean, yeah, they cleaned up a few stuff. Like the last big temporary event they did was they actually they totally destroyed the whole capital city, and that was super cool. That was probably one of the coolest things they did. We got to play there and like fight in a war for the city over the course of like a month, and it was like static scripted content, and like I said, it was still very much a theme park, but like every couple of weeks it would update with a little bit more. The setting would change slightly, the city would get more or less destroyed. Once we finished it, the city was basically in ruins for a few months, and a lot of people were hoping that they'd like gradually rebuild the city over the coming months. And then what they actually did after they kind of quit doing the temporary content thing was they just sort of airdropped a brand spanking new city right in overnight in a new patch.
Weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
so then you came to Revival, and what are some of the things that caught your eye? I think it might be that everybody on Revival is more PvP than I am, probably. Um, but what are some of the things that caught your eye with Revival? Some of the features.
Um, yeah, like I said, definitely like the virtual DM and the live storytelling is the main thing. That looks like it's going to be probably the coolest thing an MMO is going to do in a really, really long time.
And are you
Uh,
on Blackwell? Is that where you bought
yeah,
your?
I'm on Blackwell.
Okay.
Um, but I'm actually not much into horror or Lovecraft. It's like it's pretty cool, and I respect the whole lore and stuff. But I'm definitely more into like high fantasy. But the way they're writing everything and putting it all together is getting me a lot more interested in that sort of thing. So it's very cool. Um, I think the when I was reading about the fact that the houses are all actually exist in world, there's only one copy of each one. Um, the fact that they, at least on the gold servers, they can maybe get destroyed and never get them back. That's super cool as well. Um, I'm pretty much at the moment just all about like stuff actually happening in a game world and making it seem more real.
Yeah, it's the rule of world concept that's kind of drawing a lot of us in, I think. I wasn't that big on. I mean, back in the day, my Activision friends played Call of Cthulhu, and I did not understand why anybody would. Was it Call of Cthulhu, or did they play? They also played some Paranoia, and why anybody would want to play a game that's so dark and you're pretty much gonna either go mad or die. You know, you hope that you survive, but you probably are not going to be in any kind of decent shape if you do survive. In any case, that seemed really depressing. But the way they are laying out Revival and Theleston, just Theleston, I guess itself.
Yeah, it seems like it's more like average life than full blown horror 100% of the time, and then
Yeah.
it just has horror elements in it for whoever's heroic enough to try to go find it and piss off whatever deities they want to piss off.
Yeah. So I've been playing this week. I played some Sword Coast Legends, which is a D&D Forgotten Realms game, and I did try and play a rogue, which I normally play. It was a little difficult to sneak around, but I found ways to do so. And that's normally what I do. I usually try and stealth my way out of combat. So I'm a little concerned about the way they lay out, the way they talk about stealth. But we got some follow up in the blog that from this week that makes me feel a little better about that. What did you guys think about the blog?
I loved it. The whole way they're planning to counteract, you know, people adjusting their gamma on the screen to get rid of shadows and whatnot. That I thought was really cool.
As well as the first person and third person camera, like that's a really smart idea, and it's good that they're including the options for people who really need third person to be able to play a game without breaking the game.
Yeah.
It's kind
Go
of
ahead.
fascinating. It's kind of fascinating because they'll also be doing things like checking your reflectivity, like the buttons. If your buttons reflect too much, people will be able to see that. So there are more things that you have to think about. What I do like about what I've heard is that it will be challenging to stay hidden rather than just pressing a button and being invisible the whole time. You'll have to pay attention and balance different factors as you're trying to stealth. I mean, it concerns me a little bit, the player aspects of it, the player versus player, because I'm more character versus character. Um, but I think it should be a interesting combo that's kind of on par with the player skill versus character skill that's going to be in combat. So as long as it's as fun and challenging as that, it should be okay for me.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see like to what degree non-combat and combat characters have perception and how good different people are at seeing seeing stealthed people, and also how good NPCs are at seeing stealthed people, because there will definitely be a difference between like how the NPCs detect people and how the player detects people. Obviously,
Yeah,
I think
go ahead.
I think they even mentioned that it might even be a little bit of like the NPCs are given a bit of an advantage there too. They were talking something about how the NPCs have a soft cone of vision outside of their normal
right?
cone of
Yeah, they
vision
get
as
like a
well.
peripheral vision.
Yeah, which we don't really have unless I guess we're in third person or something. But even then, the third person, it says specifically only the what your character sees with the main cone of vision there. So yeah, we don't even get the soft cone like the NPCs do.
I've definitely seen Snipe say that we'll get some kind of indication of if our character detects something behind or to the side of us in our periphery. So I think we'll see something like
Maybe a little
some
ping.
kind of UI ping. Yeah,
Like in a lot of FPS games, if you get shot from like the side or behind, like there'll be a flash on that side of the screen,
yep.
or red glow or something.
Yeah, that was my
Things like
sense
that.
as well. The NPC thing is interesting, I think, because, well, actually, I think the whole camera stuff is really interesting generally. And one of the first posts I was ever considering making was about this very thing, namely because unless you're playing on like a 4K, iFinity setup, um, usually your foveal field of view, or like your focus, the main field of view that takes up, I guess, what, like 20 degrees or something of the center of your vision, is seeing the world right at a time, right? Like if you're playing on, say, a 6 or 800 by 600 4:3 monitor that's sitting like a foot away or 2 feet away or whatever from you, you can easily see everything on screen. And of course, your on-screen field of view might be, in something like Quake, easily 111 degrees. So the sense of peripheral vision doesn't really exist in that way. And so I think it's cool to try to render that into the NPCs so that even if there's variance in human players, ability to sort of milk that, the NPCs can do it autonomically, which is kind of cool. Plus, I like the idea that if I read things right, players who are intending to be stealthy can effectively play the game like I don't know what the prototypical one would be, but like a camera dodge game, right? Where you're trying to like sneak through a bunch of moving field of views and not get caught while, you know, it's a genre. I just can't think of what it's called or what the main
Stealth
ones are.
genre.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, and I like that idea. Or if you're more brazen, you can try to just, you know, hide in plain sight like a boss.
this is actually like just reminded me. Has anyone ever played the Splinter Cell Spies versus Mercenaries games? Anybody? No. That game in that versus mode, you have the spies, which are in third person view, like the typical Splinter Cell character is Sam Fisher, but the mercenaries are stuck in first person view. To make up for that, though, the mercenaries have a lot of sensory gadgets that like they have like super hearing things. They get pings when they hear things, or the goggles they wear also have things that detect when something moves too fast. Like you might just see like there might be a fence or something, a wood fence, but a spy could be running behind it. You don't see anything, but this little like box suddenly highlights these little feet running, you know, right beneath the fence there. And you're like, oh, hey, there's a spy there. Bang, 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 bang through the fence. Um, other sensory gadgets too. They had thermal goggles, lots of things to try and make up for the fact that they were stuck in, you know, the first-person FPS shooting camera, while the spies are able to like peek around corners without, you know, actually exposing themselves and stuff like that. So, yeah, maybe we'll have sensory things to help with being stuck in first person or something. I don't know. Something like the sound pings that the mercenaries would get.
Yeah, the in Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, I really liked playing. That's one of the that's a computer RPG where I really felt most like a thief, sneaking up behind people, pickpocketing when I normally don't pickpocket. I'm a pacifist, so I don't like killing things, but I love sneaking up behind people and garroting them. Um,
Sorry.
um, just because it was so cool. I love doing it. Um, and in that game, like if I wanted to pickpocket someone as I was sneaking, they had a little symbol of like I think it was like a red eye that would appear if they could detect you. So I'm hoping we have some indicators like that too uh, on the sneakers perspective, that they can see when they're being detected or notice if their sound has kind of put people on guard, um, as well as on the opposite side that people's perceptions are registering too. Um, but I kind of do love the idea of having to take your time, move slowly, make sure that you're moving silently for real, instead of just relying on the character's skill. I mean, I guess I am still thinking of relying on the character's skill, but having to pay attention to whether or not you're making noise. Sounds like it should be fun.
Right. Do a little bit more than crouch and walk real slow.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny though. I have a mixed response to the idea of like a detection meter right on the side of the sneaker. I mean, we obviously sort of have experiences in the game canon where you do have a detection meter, right? You know, Fallout and the Elder Scrolls games both have a fairly basic one, right, where you hit control or whatever to sneak, and then you get the little eyeball that says whether you're detected or not. And once you get strong enough at hiding, you can just stand in front of people and never get detected, etc. But I mean, for something that's more interactive than that, or you know, more well, basically, you know, involves other players, and because basically all of the scenarios that have a stealth, you know, meter I can think of are all single player. So in a multiplayer setting, I don't hugely like the idea of having a detection meter, which would be cool, right? But I mean, maybe as a magical thing you could do, right? Like, wear the cowl of the gray fox, and you happen to be able to now know whether you're almost detected. But like in general play, it seems skeezy to me. I don't know. I'd prefer it to, be a much more intuition and analysis based thing where you actually have to think about your position and not just play on, a little feedback loop.
But
Yeah,
you would
I
be in real life, you would be paying attention to see if there are signs that the person can detect you, which
Right.
someone who's a good investigator or on the opposite side should be able to mitigate that so you can't be sure. There should be ways for that to be muddled from the other player's side, and possibly the same for NPCs too.
Right.
Yeah.
So like I'm imagining now. So if you had somebody who was like, they had detected you, and as far as the game was concerned, they had detected you, but they were still playing like they hadn't noticed you. Now, as the sneaker, would you then get your little pop up that they heard you? Because in game, their character heard you, but also like in sort of the slightly above characters metagame, they're not acting like they noticed you, so your sneaking character wouldn't notice that they noticed you. Um, that's that's a little interesting problem.
Yeah, it depends because it's your perception versus their perception, right? And so those should play in, and that's kind of why I don't know. That's from my side, it's a problem on the player side because on the player versus player side because a player might detect something that you haven't, but then we just have to feel out how all of it registers because I've never played in a game where um, the game might not render what your character doesn't notice. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
all of
I've
that
I've
is
never seen anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that system potentially allows for, player skill based, if you will, decision making. Okay, that was a super gross cluster of words. Um, so I'll just put it as an example then. So like maybe in the attributes or the extended attributes or whatever that you can sort of develop for a character, and maybe based on the context of being in a spooky haunted mansion or something, right? If the character, for instance, detects a sound which is then passed on to the player, if it's not a particularly strong of heart character, they might flinch, for instance, and then you could hypothetically see that animation maybe a little bit on the side of the sneaker, and then at that point that would influence whether or not you choose to continue moving or try to hide or what have you, right? I mean, I don't know if that strictly solves the issue of the asymmetry, but I think it allows for things or potential solutions of that type, whether or not they ultimately work. But there's a possibility there, I think, which gives you the feedback and requires you as a player to pay attention directly on the scene rather than just watching the HUD element, which I think is always a bonus if you can somehow do it.
yeah. It's gonna be interesting to be crouching in a shadow and have people coming your direction. And I don't know how we know whether or not they've seen you or not. Um,
Yeah, you have to make a decision, decide if you think they saw you, if they're acting like they saw you, and maybe if your stealth skill or perception skill is high enough, you'd get like a some kind of indication, or you'd maybe be better able to see like their tick that they're like looking at you or something.
um, but yeah, one of the things they talked about that earlier in chat. Well, so one of the things that was mentioned in the blog is wanting to wear clothing that helps mask your appearance, so probably dark or camouflage, even down to your buttons. You don't want to have shiny buttons. Um, but one of the things that was mentioned in chat was Snipe said he thinks people will blacken their blades and armor if they intend to sneak. And that's really cool. because I'm actually fashion over function in most cases. But if I can actually develop fashion, gain the gear that will help me sneak, I'm all for that. Even down to the buttons, I'm all for that. And if I need to get a shadow blade in order to help me stay hidden, I'm up for that too.
He also mentioned that you don't just want it to be black, but you also want it to be like a non-shiny black. Because
Non-reflective, yeah.
yeah, if it's black and reflective, it kind of defeats the purpose.
Well,
Another
buttons.
thing, another thing I once read while still in the Navy, there was a article in one of our papers there about camouflage and how having just straight black isn't actually all that great, not even at night. Something to do with the eye being able to recognize people wearing all black moving even in the dark, but having just a really dark blue or really dark red actually works better than having just the straight black. Yeah, just a weird trick of our eye that we have. Which is why a lot of our camo that we use in the military doesn't actually have a whole lot of black on it. It might have little specks of it at most, but usually it's all dark colors and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then also the visual noise component is pretty large as well. Like a lot of you'll almost never see flat or one or two colors just in large swaths on
Mhm.
any form of camouflage nowadays. It's usually a number of different colors that are designed to match an environment at a distance, and then uh, modeled to essentially render as visual noise, so that you don't have to deal with large recognizable patterns that would be visible to the eye. And even actually, this is something of a thing that I researched like a long time ago when I was like 16. I was super into the idea of like stealth, and so there's actually a very large battery of things that you can use to mitigate detection by someone's vision. For instance, one of the largest and actually most effective detectors of another person's presence at any range is body silhouette. So this is something that snipers know very well, and they try to disrupt their body shape as much as they can when they're in a position, so that they can't be recognized as a body, because humans are just very capable of recognizing the shape of other people at a distance or up close. And so it's very important to have things that break the silhouette and make you essentially not look at all like a human in some way, whether that's sticking extra tree limbs on, or things like that. Tucking a leg under another leg and then like just bending it out really far if you can to like just not look like a person is very important. And then the other thing that's super important, and I'm actually most interested about this, is basically as a truism, if you will, in stealth and detection, if you can see them, they can see you. But more specifically, with regards to the eyes, right? So, like, if you're stalking, for instance, a deer, right, in a hunting scenario, if you are off to its side and it's got a fairly wide field of view because its eyes are positioned on the side of its head for evolutionary reasons, if you are in its field of view and you are looking directly at its eye, the chances of it noticing you are extremely high compared to if you weren't looking at its eye, or if you're even just keeping it in your periphery vision. Now, because we haven't really gotten a mechanical look at the way the camera will work with regards to animating the position of the eyes, animating the position of the head and stuff, I don't know if it's necessarily something that would be easy to do, right? But, hypothetically, if you see, the white sclera of an eye against a relatively otherwise dark and non-matte field, right, then you're like, oh no, there's someone looking at me. And so I'm very interested to see whether they'll be able to take that into account as well, hopefully in a way that doesn't require too much computation.
That's what
Yeah.
goggles are for.
Right.
The thing you were saying about camo earlier, how we don't use just big flat splats of color, we mix it up a lot. We've actually taken it even a step further than that in our most recent camo uniforms, where we got these little digital blocks everywhere, all over our camo now.
Oh,
The digital camo, what that's for is actually it makes it harder for even cameras, like night vision cameras and stuff, to see it because the pixelation on there, it just messes it up. So we blend in against the human eye and even an electronic eye somewhat now too.
dude, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
one of the things I had mentioned, I was in a conversation with Snipe and Ombwah a couple of weeks ago about the Dark Abbot in that burned down the Abbey in
Oh,
Allegedly.
did they confirm that? Did they confirm that that's what happened?
well, I just happened to mention that dark had me running through connotations of dark with black. And one of the reasons that black is such a bad thing is because, at night it's more difficult to see. So it's easier for us to have fear and think of evil things coming from that. But I was wondering if different cultures could have different views on that. And one of the things that I had been thinking about in regard to that was Sneed as um, the sneaky god, whether or not there would be different color associations, not necessarily just black, which is what we normally associate with rogues trying to hide, but could that be greens and browns for that represent camouflage, or maybe some cultures have whites if they're you know constantly have snow. Um, So yeah, I'm wondering if we might see in various cultures different appearances of or different visions of what sneaking might be, besides just making your blades black. Um,
I could
Blades
totally see
probably.
like a situation where being basically surrounded by like, you know, tons of green would be really intimidating, right? Like if you live in a very wild and sort of Dema devoted, or at least Dema aligned section of the universe, and everything is green around you, and then you're suddenly like, oh man, I don't have good karma with her. I might get screwed over right now, or something similar. I think would be very interesting and definitely could have leverage. And then it's just up to Ombo whether or not he wants to go super crazy with that.
yeah. Um, Snipe was saying color of the ocean, color of the sand, and Umbwa says in chat we also discussed representations of different gods as different ethnicities as well, influenced by their own cultural influence. Um, yeah, that was a pretty cool conversation. Um, yeah, what else do any of you guys sneak? I don't know why I think of sailKite as possibly being a sneaky kind of character. Cheshire is pointing.
I tend to play sneaky characters. Just about every game I play in, always try to have at least some element of stealth in there. Uh, part part of my big PvP style is to surprise people, get the jump on them. Uh, I'm not a very defensive person. But my defense is that I'm hiding or running away. Beyond that, I'm all offensive. I'll jump out of the shadows, hit you with my hardest hits that I can throw out, and then I'm gone again. It's just the way I play. So,
Now I'm envisioning the Cheshire smile on the back of your cloak as you're running away.
Oh my gosh, that'd
that
be
would be
great.
great.
That would be awesome.
Can't
Big old
see
Dude,
you from the
seriously.
front.
Make that a
Well,
calling card, right? Like he jumps out of the shadows, garrotes you, rips your jaw off, and puts your jaw in the giant red smile that your throat used to be, or what just became, and then
Oh,
runs
so
away.
gross. So
Yeah, I
gross.
can see this. I have confirmed the Cheshire plan. Yeah, every time I try to not play a sneak character, I play a sneak character. It's really unfortunate. Like it's just there are certain logical necessities that go along with stealth with regards to strategy that make it impossible for me to not want to use them. Right? Like the element of surprise and being hidden is so valuable in so many contexts that I just automatically do it anyway, no matter how hard I try not to. So I will eventually be hidden. It's just a question of how.
Even in Dungeons and Dragons, and even in like the Elder Scrolls games, even if I'm wearing full plate, I will try and be as stealthy as possible while wearing full plate. I will
Yeah,
find ways to work that in.
yeah, I sort of do the same thing where like I don't really make a point of sneaking, but I'll use sneaking for like scouting into rooms and stuff, and then uh, go up until I get detected or I have an idea of what the place I'm going to looks like. Then I'll just stand up and pull out my weapons and go for it.
Yeah, so I just double checked back through the blog, and it was saying that the soft view cone is more focused on rapid movement versus brightness of the target. That's really fascinating. That it's really keyed
Because that's
to
what you're
movement.
most likely to pick up in your peripheral vision is movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So I was going to jump over to taxes, especially since the Taxman cometh. We had a cool post. It was asking if we were going to be able to use standing points to pay for taxes instead of, or maybe in addition to
Yeah.
um, in-game money.
I don't think that I would like to see that myself. Using standing points to pay for taxes. I don't know. That seems like something I would want to keep separated myself.
Yeah, I agree with the design intent behind it. I think the taxes are definitely for making sure the player who owns the property is actually still actively playing and being a part of the world and encouraging the player to be a part of the world instead of like buying an estate with your $2,000 and then spending your next $3,000 just holing up in your estate, not doing anything.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm glad that it's like we have to pay it with the in-game coin. I'm also really glad we actually got like a measurement of what coin is worth, at least in Crown's Rock, because I think that might have been the first time we've seen something like that.
Yeah, and it was a very interesting jump. For the most part, it seems to be about twice as much as we go up the scale. So they were saying tenement is 10 gold pieces, a cottage is 22 gold pieces, a house is 47, a manse is 87, and then it jumps by like
Five
five
times.
times. Yeah, the estate is 448 gold pieces. So that was pretty fascinating to see.
Yeah. I mean, just look at how many rooms the estate has compared to the manses, and you get an idea for why that is.
Yep.
It's huge.
Well, and you also get like, I mean, it's not a perfect equivalence, but in addition to the huge amount of space you get, you also get a huge amount of land, right? And I know there's technically, an asymmetry in the sense that the farm cottages get land, but don't necessarily have super high taxes, at least as far as I know.
Right.
There's kind of a double thing there where it's the effective property that you can be taxed on, excuse me, is very large in addition to just your raw square footage. So I don't know if that factors into the deal or not, but it seems to me, given the initial investment, that high taxes for estates make perfect sense, considering their initial costs are estimated to be somewhere around, 4 to 5, possibly even more times what even the most expensive mansos cost.
Oh yeah.
So it seems to me an appropriate growth, or appropriate scaling, just generally.
Yeah. Seems to be what it is. I mean, the price for the houses and stuff, it doubles every time you go up a tier. The tax is doubled every time you go up a tier. But the taxes for the estate, was 5 times multiplier. So maybe the price will be 5 times of what the Mance is multiplier. I think Cerberus, was that you? Who did the math for that in the forums? Was that
Um,
Calidora maybe?
I think that was Calidora. Yeah,
Calidora. Okay. Yeah, I know somebody did it this
somebody
morning.
besides me.
Snipe is saying that the farm cottages are a bargain in Crown's Rock, I guess, because of the land taxes for the land, I guess.
Hmm.
Plus,
Um,
aren't the farms are pretty much the same price as the cottages inside the walls, right?
I think so.
Yeah, but then you've got
Yeah,
like
the difference is maybe like $5 or $10, maybe like from the
yeah,
largest gap.
but then inside the walls you've also got the fact you have no farmland, but you've got better guard presence and whatnot.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. I was going to say security seems to be pretty terrible outside the walls. So, yeah, there's a trade-off there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Snipe is saying that they want estates to be active and take a lot of work, and that the whole point is not to lock out players or anything, but to make sure that if we take on an estate, we are playing a part in the game. We had a couple of posts a couple of weeks ago about that. People were worried that if you buy an estate, that you might just buy it and not do anything with it. You might be see. I don't mind if I'm Bruce Wayne and I buy an estate and I don't want other people coming to play in my bat cave. That should be okay. Um, but but hopefully we're using it for something.
Right? Yeah, like you're Bruce Wayne and you're not using it for anything, but then you're probably still being Batman out in the background
Yeah.
anyway, so being influential in that way.
Yeah.
So I like the idea that they'll whoever ends up getting the estate will just kind of naturally become a really big player on the server, or at least in the city.
Yeah, I mean, lots of people have been equating the estates with guilds, but I think if people hold parties or do whatever, then that can be another way to add some fun. It doesn't all have to be um, just one way of using the estate to help the public or to participate with other players.
Yeah, I think most people equate it with guilds just because that's probably the easiest way a lot of people can imagine themselves affording it. People pulling together their $2,000 to $5,000, and probably one of the best ways people can imagine actually getting use out of that much space. Other than, I think it was Bam's idea to buy up an estate and then rent it out for like making about 5 times the monthly tax profit a month.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a clever idea. I was glad that someone came up with something devious like that, if only to kind of demonstrate the potentials for other ways to use that space. What was I going to say? I also think partly that the reason we think of estates with relation to guilds is that so far the only real estate that we've seen a walkthrough of is particularly one that's designed for guild presence. The other 4 estates in Crown's Rock, we've gotten pictures from the blogs of sort of some of the details and work that are going into those, but we haven't really gotten an actual walkthrough sense of what they sort of cater to, how they would lean, how much actual space they have, in comparison to the guild estate. And so some of them might not be as, they might lend themselves to more of a Bruce Wayne kind of thing. And I think there is one, if I recall, that very much would lend to a secret whatever role that the above ground doesn't necessarily reflect all that strongly.
Another
Ombwah is saying in chat that it might be that some power will take up shop in the Batcave due to ancient associations or some such. Then there will be a lot of interest in your Batcave, both from you and your neighbors, which
Hmm.
is
Another
interesting.
another neat idea somebody brought up was turning an estate into like a mall. I was like, an indoor market that might not actually be a bad use for a an estate if renting out the individual upgradable rooms as workshops and whatnot. I could see that working out.
Yeah, that definitely could. I think a lot of players would be interested in having presumably much safer than the general marketplace to sell their stuff. That might even be able to make it some kind of like exclusive thing where only certain people can get in.
That instance would be so gnarly, though. There'd be like 100 people just like, hey guys, let's buy some swords today. And then they just all go inside the instance and just, everyone starts chugging immediately, like, oh my gosh, we need more nodes on the server.
Now, do we know if the grounds of the estates are instanced as well, or just the insides of the buildings?
I
Pretty
actually
sure it's
don't
just the
know.
inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if
Um,
it's anything to go by, I would expect the insides to be the instance part, and the outsides wouldn't be. I mean, they'd be fenced off or whatever,
yeah.
I'm sure, but
Yeah.
So I think it was even mentioned like even if like your building had a courtyard in the middle, that courtyard would exist in the outside world. It wouldn't be
right, yeah.
instanced
Oh, that's super
area.
interesting.
Yeah, I do recall that being
So
mentioned, but I don't remember the source. I did see it,
so
though.
yeah, if somebody managed to actually climb up on top of your estate somehow, they could drop down in that middle courtyard and try and infiltrate your building that way. So make sure
Yeah.
you lock your courtyard doors too.
Snipe was saying one of the states is Staples Center sized, which has me imagining E3 taking place. And can we have a virtual E3 in Crowns Rock?
Oh
Come
man,
on,
that's meta.
everybody, wander around. We've got the devs here. We're gonna hold a panel on Cthulhu.
Right, and then we can all play Call of Cthulhu together in an estate using dice in the
We will have
game,
dice, so we can do
writing
that.
down our character sheets in the
Yeah, of
game.
course.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, totally.
As long as you,
And then that moment when Cthulhu rises in someone's game and then rises in the game, and then we all have to freak out and run.
as
Too
long as
meta,
you
guys.
pay for
Ombwah,
your
you're writing that
tickets,
down, right?
they are. The devs are always there.
LARP
Yeah.
in game. Oh, that's terrible.
That'd be hilarious if like one of the free servers basically just got converted, not converted, but like if all the people who went on it in a large sense just agreed that they were going to LARP in the game, right? And so they just all pretended that they were LARPers going around like some sort of crazy Hollywood set that had been built specifically
Dude,
for
we should
like
do that. We should make characters on a free server that like don't do anything but sit around and LARP all day.
yeah, totally. So meta, guys. It's so meta.
So meta. Two meta five or three meta five me. I'm
Oh
out.
man.
I'm out.
Dude, the cool is too high. We're reaching like 10 cool right now. I offer you a donut.
This is what alts are for, in my view. Um, what kind of homes do people have? I have a tenement. What else do you guys have?
I also
I've
have
got
a tenement.
I've got a tenement and a cottage.
Okay.
I have one of those things that costs what all of you guys have combined because I'm an idiot.
A house or a manse? A
Man's
house. A
an
manse.
idiot.
Wow.
Oh,
An
nice
idiot.
job.
It's worth it though. It's worth it, man. All the content I've gotten out of IRC, it was worth the money.
Yeah, no, I actually agree. If this game died tomorrow and didn't go anywhere, I still feel like I wouldn't have wasted my money.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And I'm knocking on wood right now, very much so. But yeah,
So Sale has a mount. Cheshire has a tenement and a cottage. Sir Bayou, what did you say you have? A tenement?
I've got a tenement as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I really like the. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say Cheshire's gonna be playing a lot. He's got two. Well, maybe he's renting one out. Um,
I'm thinking what I'm probably gonna do is once one of the other cities opens up, I'm probably gonna just sacrifice both of them and get maybe a house or something uh, in one of the newer cities because I don't really actually have a whole lot of interest in staying in Crowns Rock myself. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I couldn't when I saw number one Sirith's Way or whatever it was open. I couldn't resist getting it.
Mhm.
It's like I just saw that name and I was like, "Yep, that's
Well,
mine."
because Sirith is one of the gods that Cheshire follows, so that's going to make a lot of sense. And I guess tenement is only 10 gold pieces more than the cottage, so it's not going to be too difficult to do the
Right.
upkeep for both of those.
Yeah.
sailKite might have some work to do on a manse.
Yeah, I have plans, by which I mean I have no idea. But I'll figure something out when the time comes. If only because I will have to figure something out, whether that's renting or otherwise.
You're on Blackwell, right?
Yeah, I think
I,
everyone. I think we're all on Blackwell.
I,
That's
I
what we
hear
call it.
Blackwell
Well.
needs a party manse because only
You
Anakatha
know,
has that.
I don't think I want to steal Anakatha's thunder. I mean, the party
Yeah, I
man's
mean,
is
Donnie
special.
will personally come end you if you do that.
Donnie has me on Skype. He can probably get me destroyed by all of his Eve buddies if he really wants. I will not risk it. I will respect
Do it.
the sanctity of the party man's.
Do it. I
as
will.
a
I
unique-
will be free security for you. I want to get in on that action because that sounds like
Cheshire,
it'd be a
careful.
fun
I
night.
saw Donnie in chat a little while ago.
Yeah, Donnie's here. He knows what's going on.
Come at
He
me,
has
Don.
eyes on the
Let's do it.
walls.
Oh man.
Go
But
ahead.
speaking of making money, it was nice to see also how much they're expecting to have the balance for the rate at which players are making money, which was if you're actually trying to gain a profit, about 4 to 10 sovereigns per hour of playtime. So that's a good stat to have, and I think it's also interesting that like they actually gave us such specific numbers for everything already, because I think it shows that like all of this is very, very concrete already, and even if the numbers change, the overall balance of how long they want everything to take and what kind of investment you need to handle these properties. Like, so a tenement is 10 sovereigns per month.
Which is about
so,
10 gold pieces.
yeah, so apparently I can probably pay for my tenement's month's rent in an hour of work in one day. So it's interesting to know like what degree we'll actually have to do work to keep the upkeep going.
Yeah. Because that's more than reasonable, actually, right? 1 day of work for a month of upkeep.
That's pretty
And
good
just
for a
to,
tenement.
just to clarify, since time is always an issue, if when we say month, we mean real life month. The tax
Right.
collection in Crowns Rock takes place on what is in the world a quarterly basis, or every 3 months, and so you'd be able to do this in 1 month of real time. So just so everyone gets their time right and doesn't have to worry about doing crazy conversions.
Yeah, one of the things I was surprised to see it pop up, but this was from Calidora, and I think she might be new enough that she just hadn't heard before, but was concerned about how long do you need to not pay taxes before you lose your property. And we did get the reconfirmation that that's several real-time months,
Right.
and possibly even a year of delinquency before a house is repoed. So,
And then there's also the function that you can choose to freeze your property. I believe
Right.
they've said like if you're taking a break from the game, you can contact them and basically get the house boarded up so nobody can use it, including you, while
Yep.
you're gone.
yeah.
Uh,
Which is good for people who, go on long vacations, or sometimes their jobs force them to be away for a while.
yeah, absolutely. That's a really, really good thing to have when people are paying real money for these things.
Yeah.
Speaking of all that, I should probably add the tax timing to my FAQ, so I'll do that a little bit later.
hmm
And speaking of all this money talk here, I created a thread on the forums called Economics. You gotta shout it because it has an exclamation point. Um, and in it, Snipehunter revealed how a lot of the coinage and currency works. Has anyone here seen the anime series Spice and Wolf?
Mm-mm.
No?
Haven't,
Go
but I
watch
might
it
watch it.
because a lot of the stuff he was talking about you can find in that series. It's a series about a merchant and, well, this other wolf chick. But yeah, they go into business together, and it's really neat. A lot of insights into like medieval economies and stuff like that, trading. Very neat stuff. And I think I even linked the episode that talks a lot about coins in that thread. So
Yep.
check it out.
And it's pretty interesting. I mean, we got some details
It's
like the shape of the bits, triangular versus something else.
yeah, if it's the gold coin, it can be divided up into 8 triangles, bits, or a silver coin is also called a bit, and they're supposed to have like equivalent value or something like that. So neat stuff. I love it. Also, different regions will have different, their own currencies as well. So it'd be kind of neat to see like currency exchanges in marketplaces and stuff.
Yeah, I like that as well, and also the fact that like wars and other politics will prevent you from actually being allowed to exchange currency from certain places.
If SkyPass gets fed up with Congarai raiding them all the time, they might be like, nope, no more Congarai currency accepted here. Go away. Take your filthy garbage money elsewhere.
And imagine you're a merchant who's been like sailing with a bunch of goods, like perishable goods, even, and you've been on the road while that happened and while that was instated. Like, what do you do when you get there, and how do you not lose your entire livelihood right then and there? And that's kind of a cool scenario and might lead to like smuggling and stuff.
Yep, and then you find your Valyri contact because the Valyri have been basically arms brokering to both sides of the conflict and making bank by simultaneously selling arms and changing money at inflated
Yeah.
conversion values. And so
In-
then you call your Valyri contact and get going on some good stuff.
Selling
So,
that
Sal, you're
infamous
the
Valyrian
changer then.
I'm the what?
You're a money changer then. That's your plan.
No, I belong in a deeper circle of hell than that. Thank you.
Yeah, in Sword Coast Legends, charisma does affect your prices with the merchants, and I think I've seen that in some other games as well. If you have a high charisma, then things cost less. So that could be interesting too, to see how your karma and reputation and renown affect, or maybe even the guild's renown. That could be true for guilds too, as well as there could be all kinds of stuff that affects the prices that people sell things to you. Huh.
Yeah, all sorts of things. Lots of cogs in the machine that leads to the final product there.
Yeah, I think again, Calidora was talking about like, what if you were the blacksmith that made a legendary or a cursed weapon? Would you get swarmed or shunned? And would you then suddenly have to deal with a bunch of people coming and finding you and asking for cool stuff? And if you were a guy who made a cursed one, maybe you get like a whole lot of people you never thought you'd end up interacting with on the other side of the law coming and finding you and asking for cool stuff that's cursed.
Hmm.
Or losing your business entirely.
Yeah.
In a number of ways, yeah.
Yep,
Fire.
and then you in your the devastation, you accidentally cross over a little early to the anime realm, and then someone's like, "Hey, I hear you made cool stuff. I would like for you to make me some cool stuff that does this stuff and can kill anime's, fetchers." Wait, what? It can kill anime's fetters? It can kill anime's fetchers. Let's do it. And then you go on an epic quest providing semi-immortality to the dead.
Hmm.
Not that Ombwah would ever allow that or anything.
And I think we also had a thread, or somebody asked about guilds. Um, oh, I think they were wondering if guilds could be exempt from taxes if they were like. I think it was the Monster Hunter guild, and they were wondering if they were doing such a great job for the city, if maybe they could get um, a discount. They were also wondering if guilds could have a posting fee for the city asking them for jobs. That was kind of an interesting thread.
Yeah, I was skimming that one a little bit. I think the idea of getting having enough political influence to be given a free pass on that sort of thing is pretty cool, but that probably falls more under the umbrella of corruption more than anything else.
Yeah, I was thinking it would probably be more politics than something that the city, because there are going to be so many guilds doing so many different things for the city in any
For
case.
sure.
But it seems like if you play your politics well, you could vie for reduced taxes or something like that. That seems to be partly what playing the politics are for.
Yeah.
And but I think that would probably be, it might even be something more associated with the neighborhood than a guild specifically too. But I mean, that could be one thing that would be pushing us to really participate in politics, is to get tax reductions.
Yeah, or at least have a friend so that they can crony you up into a good spot.
Yep.
Or even manipulate taxes to work against your competition.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
Oh, Cheshire's getting dangerous.
Say you're a big-time mining guild in Crowns Rock, but there's somebody importing like a huge influx of iron and stuff.
Put up high tariffs, yeah.
You just crank up those import taxes there.
I sense a new Cheshire character concept coming on.
I was gonna say.
I'm not alting.
Yeah,
go for one
so
character.
he says.
He doesn't alt. He just changes the character.
Yeah, exactly.
Every 3 weeks.
I'll figure out what I want to be eventually.
Cool. All right. Well, we got to wrap up. We're a couple of minutes over. Any last thoughts, guys?
I want tacos.
I think
That is
those
what I'm
come
thinking.
from Congarai. Spicy
Congarai
Congarai
tacos.
tacos, oh boy.
Another
All right,
reason to set up shop
Can we
in
ask
Congarai.
Ombwah for confirmation, please?
Yeah, we can find that Anacothan maze and start grinding it.
Ombwah tacos where?
Oh yeah. So I'm sorry. There's a mention of hygiene in here. So is there a stank attribute?
Your stank score?
Yeah, we got a list of attributes too, but I didn't see stank in there.
I think stank is a derivative attribute. It's hidden, but I think it is possible if you spend a long time in a miasma.
That's what they said. They said that
Hygiene matters.
Yeah, how if you don't bathe for a long time, then your reputation can go down.
There we go. Snipe said it.
Until Snipehunter gives me an official name for it, I'm putting it in the doc as the stank score right now. I'm gonna go ahead and do that.
Nice. Yep. So I guess on the horizon we've got actually next week a super like double mega ultra secret probationary cool thread, or what do you call it? Not thread, blog. Excuse me. Yeah, that's the word. Blog to look forward to. Snipehunter is going to be going into the deeps, like we are talking perfect raid clear tier deeps, tier 1 deeps on the tagging system next week to look forward to.
Oh yeah, I'm super excited for that. So you asked me what I liked earlier, and I did not mention the tagging system. The tagging system sounds really cool and really brilliant, and I can't wait to see how that's going to work. And I know it's going to be totally obscure to us as players, but certainly while it's getting developed, a whole lot of us are going to be trying to figure out exactly how that is working.
Yeah.
Yeah, Snipe is confirming that he has infographics, which means my Kokoro is going complete Doki Dokis right now.
I can't believe you just said that.
I am when the hype comes out, the weeb comes out harder. Like I am super mega hype, like platinum hype right now. So yeah, keep your eyes literally all over the Revival website next week because it's gonna be madness.
We also have maybe another housing update.
Possibly, yes.
Yeah,
I don't know what the latest is on that, but there might be one coming up.
I think they've been saying the pretty much like all they have left to do is like value out all the furniture pieces so they can budget the arrangements properly, and then they're good to go.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that seems to be it. Thanks for popping in, Sir Bayou, and as always, Cheshire, Sail.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for having me.
Glad that you're feeling better.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for coming out as usual. We totally appreciate your support and love fielding questions that you have. We love to have the devs here as well. As always, thank you Ombwah and Snipe for hanging around in chat and confirming our frivolous investigations. So everyone have a good week, and we will see you next Sunday with a crazy super fanboy episode, because that's just what it's gonna be.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Toodles.